Hi, down here. I'm Owen Smith, and welcome to the Cannabis Digest weekly blogcast. I'm going to fill you in on anything you might have missed this week. You can catch up at thecannabisdigest.ca. So let's get started. Cookies in a high court. Appeal takes Smith to Ottawa. So that's me. I'm Owen Smith, and we're going to continue to update you on the Cannabis Digest blog about the Supreme Court challenge, which it is now. It started in 2012 in the BC Supreme Court and was recently continued by the success for us of the BC Appeal Court. In a 2-1 victory, this has forced the Supreme Court to have to take the case, and they will be in some time in the near future. We will tell you when, and we'll tell you any way you can help. This is what Kirk Tousaw has to say about the government's continual appeals. I find it distressing that our government will spend buckets of tax dollars fighting against sick people's rights to ingest physician-approved medicine in the form of cookies. I look forward to the opportunity to defend patients' charter rights before the highest court in the land. This is an historic moment because the Supreme Court of Canada has not heard a medical cannabis case. I'll get back to some more of this. Moving swiftly along. Synthetic THC pills or whole plant cannabis. Synthetic THC pills contain a single compound. Whole plant cannabis contain hundreds of compounds. Some say that it's a benefit to have just one so you know exactly what's going to happen. But actually, if exactly what's going to happen is what you don't want to happen, then you might want to go back to using what worked before, which for a lot of people was whole plant cannabis. The discovery of the importance of CBD is a main aspect of this article. I had a really good discussion with people on LinkedIn about this, as well as some good comments on the Cannabis Digest website for you to check out. So if I was getting a little bit of background, I'll tell you a little bit about the interaction between the two. CBD and THC. Recent years, the whole plant synergistic shotgun method, which is with the THC and CBD, has ground over the silver bullet method, which is just having that single ingredient. One of the most important distinctions between synthetic THC and whole plant cannabis is the presence of CBD. CBD antagonizes THC by competing for the receptor sites. Doctors have been distributing synthetic THC in the form of nabilone, sesamet, marinol for many years, and only now are we really getting the feedback that it takes to include CBD medicines such as Sativex, which is a newer form, and potentially, hopefully, whole plant extract medicines to be made available across Canada and across the whole globe. That would be a wonderful end point for our work here. Moving swiftly along, middle-aged rebel. Rabelais first to write cannabis stories. Francois Rabelais was a member of the Club de Hashishin in earlier Europe. It was part of a movement which sparked a lot of political and cultural uprisings. So it's very influential in the history of the West, and he included in his writings esoteric references to hemp, and his classic work Gargantua and Pantagruel, a parable about a son of a giant that were intended to make a mockery of the established order. Throughout his books he refers to the good herb, but it is not until the fifth that he is identified as hemp. It was common for alchemists to make esoteric references because they didn't want to be persecuted by the very scary Catholic Church. So he's among the first to speak of a magic bean, a theme that would be later used by alchemists to transmit knowledge. Giants and magic beans. That rings a bell. Moving swiftly along. Advertising marijuana. Judith Stamps is the Cannabis Digest editor. She is a retired political philosophy professor, and she is giving us all an education in cannabis and advertising right now. This is part 2 of her series, and she does her own illustrations, you can see there. And I will read to you an excerpt from this, which I found very interesting. One form of advertising is packaging. In 2011, marijuana opponents in Colorado, aided by the Colorado Drug Investigation Association, tried to pass a bill prohibiting all commercial edibles containing cannabis. In their defense, they cited 2 products: Pot Tarts, an imitation of Pop Tarts, and Cap'n Chronic, an imitation of Cap'n Crunch. The sponsors claimed that Pot Tarts were showing up in schoolyards, and they provided product images. Happily, this bill did not get very far. That's because the defending attorney did some research on Google. It turns out that Pot Tarts were once produced in a bakery in Oakland, California. The bakery was closed in 2006. There were never any Pot Tarts in Colorado. As for Cap'n Chronic, he was an image on a t-shirt sold at Spencer's Gifts. He was never a food. So as you see, there's a lot of distortions, and prohibition seems to have created these kinds of mutants and monsters of our imagination, where really those things just don't exist. Okay, moving on to our next Cannabis Digest blog. It's the launch of the YouTube channel, which you may be watching this on right now, and if you're not, then perhaps you should be, and subscribe if you are. Also, you can like the videos, that helps our prowess on YouTube. But we also have other social network sites for you to check out. Our Facebook page has been running daily for quite a while now. Our Twitter feed is constantly updated, as well as we have a new Google Plus page, and we're active in that network. So if you're on any of those, come and check us out, like us, or whatever it takes to keep your Cannabis Digest information steadily coming in. We'll move right on to Ted Smith's article for the week. It is about the University of Victoria Hempology Club. The 420 there has been going for 16 years, and Ted has been leading it like a champion for so long. He has been putting on conventions, annual conventions, as well as a lecture series which has covered a broad array of topics. He's written a textbook to accompany his lecture series, and you can find it all on hempology.ca. Hempology holding its ground against the campus security, which continue to encroach upon the rights of the students to peacefully gather and protest this awful law. The Hempology Circle had been broken up before, and Ted was taken away because of undercovers coming in and taking a roach from the circle and using it as evidence against him. He was charged with trafficking, and he was prevented from coming back to the university for a number of years. However, the ironic thing is, if any of you heard about what happened with Mark Emery being prosecutor and his prosecutor turning over to become a leader of the Washington state legalization movement, well, Ted's the security guard who came down on Ted so many years ago ended up coming back to speak to the group about cannabis prohibition at one of the annual conventions. So you see how the interaction with the cannabis culture has helped to transform some of the ideas of people who were employed against it. So breaking ground, holding ground, Hempology 101. If you're at the university, Wednesday at 4:20, you can come and check out what's going on. We'll finish it off for the week with my article for Thursday, that is the medical cannabis case that I am leading, that goes to the Supreme Court of Canada sometime in the near future. What I've got here is the evidence accepted by Judge Johnson that was put in by our expert witness, Dr. David Pate. David Pate is a global leader in cannabis research and really has helped us establish some proper scientific guidelines to look at cannabis as medicine. previously they just didn't make sense. That's our arguments. So as you can see on the screen here, the glandular trichome, and what was a very important part of the trial was teaching the judge that the cannabinoids, the medicine, is in the end of the trichome head. That is like a golf ball on the end of a tee, and the golf balls on the end of the tees, they just fall off. Well, that's what happens with these globular trichome resin heads. And in the production of the cannabinoids, it separates these active components from many of the parts of cannabis that are mechanical in the growth of the plant or in its general functioning as a plant, and are not necessarily required or desired to be in your medical cannabis preparation. So this is a very important part of what we're trying to do, is upgrade the medical cannabis laws for Canadians and allow extracts across the country. And we will be going to the Supreme Court. Stay tuned for more from the Cannabis Digest on that and other matters every day. Daily blogs, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, cannabisdigest.ca. I'm Owen Smith, and I'm very happy to be bringing you the weekly video log to help your Cannabis Digest. See you next week.